Welcome to Quiet Thinker. This is a space for slow thoughts, quiet clarity, and ideas that reveal themselves only when we stop rushing past them. Here, we explore the mind, the self, and the patterns that shape our perception, without judgment, without hurry, without distraction. Today, we turn our attention outward from awareness and explore the ideas humans keep returning to again and again, the schools of philosophy that have shaped thought across centuries. Across time and culture, we see 5 paths emerge, each offering a different answer to the questions of meaning, suffering, and how to live. We begin with the first of these paths. Act 1. The question. Empires rise. Beliefs collapse. Gods are born, questioned, forgotten, then quietly reborn under new names. But beneath all of it, something strange keeps happening. Across cultures, centuries, and crises, humans keep returning to the same few philosophical paths, as if thought itself has limited directions it can move in. Different languages, different symbols, the same underlying questions. What is real? Who are we? How should we live? Tonight we explore 5 philosophical paths humanity never seems to abandon, no matter how advanced, disillusioned, or secular it becomes. Not as academic systems, but as recurring ways the human mind tries to orient itself inside existence. This is not a history lesson. It's a pattern recognition exercise. And the first path always begins in the same place, not with the world, but with the mind. Idealism. The first philosophical path humans return to is idealism. It emerges whenever people begin to doubt the solidity of the world and suspect that reality might not be as external as it appears. Idealism begins with a quiet but destabilizing thought. What if mind comes first, and matter comes second? In other words, what if reality is not something we observe, but something that arises through observation? Act 2. The core belief. Plato imagined a world of perfect forms, invisible, eternal, more real than anything we touch. Centuries later, Eastern traditions said something similar in different language, that the world is Maya, illusion, appearance shaped by perception. Much later still, thinkers like Berkeley argued that to exist is to be perceived. Different cultures, same instinct. Idealism claims that consciousness is not a byproduct of the universe. It is the foundation of it. Matter becomes secondary. Objects become experiences. The universe becomes something that appears rather than exists independently. This path comforts some and terrifies others, because if reality depends on mind, then certainty disappears. Act 2. The psychological appeal. Humans return to idealism during moments of disillusionment, when external systems fail, when institutions lose authority, when the world feels unstable, contradictory, or hollow. If the outer world cannot be trusted, perhaps truth lives inside. Idealism offers a subtle power shift. You are no longer a small object trapped in a massive universe. The universe becomes something that unfolds within awareness. Meaning is not hunted, it is generated. But there is a cost. Act 3. The fracture. If everything is mind, how do we agree on anything? If reality is shaped by perception, what anchors truth? Idealism can slide into isolation, into solipsism, into a quiet detachment from shared reality. And eventually, humanity pushes back. because a world made only of ideas feels too unstable to build civilizations on. So the pendulum swings away from mind towards something solid, observable, measurable, toward a philosophy that says reality exists whether you believe in it or not. And that brings us to the second path, Stoicism. Act 1, the problem, the world you cannot control. The Stoics began with a brutal observation. Most of what shapes your life is outside your control. Weather, other people, politics, illness, death. You can be intelligent and still lose everything. You can be kind and still be betrayed. You can be careful and still suffer. The mistake most humans make is trying to control what was never theirs to command. And when reality refuses to obey, they collapse. Stoicism does not promise happiness. It promises stability. Act 2. The core idea, control the inner world. The Stoics drew a hard line through existence. On one side, what is not yours. On the other, what is. You do not control events. You control judgments. You do not control outcomes. You control effort. You do not control death. You control how you live before it arrives. Everything else is noise. Epictetus, once a slave, put it simply, some things are up to us, some things are not. Most suffering comes from confusing the two. The Stoic trains the mind like a fortress. Pain may enter, loss may enter, but panic does not. Act 3. The practice, becoming unshakable. Stoicism is not passive. It is disciplined. Daily reflection, negative visualization, voluntary discomfort. Imagine loss before it arrives, not to suffer twice, but to loosen its grip. If everything can be taken, then nothing fully owns you. This is why emperors studied Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius ruled the world and still reminded himself, you could leave life right now, let that determine what you do and say and think. Power did not protect him from decay. Awareness did. Act 4, the cost, what Stoicism gives up. But this path has a price. Emotional distance, self-containment, silence. Stoicism teaches restraint, but restraint can become isolation. The Stoic survives storms, but may forget how to dance in the sun. This is the trade, inner peace for emotional intensity, control for surrender. Some accept this willingly, others find it too cold. And so humanity searched again, not for control, but for meaning. If suffering is unavoidable, if control is limited, then perhaps the question is not how to endure life, but why to endure it at all. From this question, another path emerged, one that does not teach detachment, but purpose. Buddhism. Existentialism leaves us with freedom, but freedom carries weight. The realization that there is no given meaning can feel exhilarating or unbearable. And after that realization settles, a quieter question often follows. If suffering is unavoidable in a meaningless world, is there a way to relate to suffering differently? Long before existentialists wrestled with this question, another tradition had already placed suffering at the very center of its inquiry, not as a problem to solve, but as a truth to understand. This is the path of Buddhism. Act 1. The problem. The mind as a source of suffering. By the time we arrive here, something has already become clear. We have questioned the self. We have searched for meaning. We have tried reason. And yet, suffering remains. Not dramatic suffering, not tragedy, but the quiet, persistent unease beneath everyday life. Buddhism begins here, not with belief, not with metaphysics, but with an observation. Life, as experienced through the mind, contains suffering. This suffering is not accidental. It is not punishment. It is not fate. It arises because the mind clings to pleasure, to identity, to permanence in a world that does not stay still. Thought says, this should last. Life says, it won't. The gap between those two becomes pain. Buddhism does not argue this. It asks you to notice it. Notice how the mind resists what is. Notice how it demands more. Notice how it creates a self that must be protected. Suffering, then, is not outside us. It is generated, moment by moment. And that realization changes the question. The question is no longer, why does life hurt? It becomes, what is the mind doing to create this pain? Act 2. The insight. Awareness without attachment. Buddhism's answer is subtle. It does not tell you to destroy the mind. It does not tell you to replace it with belief. It asks you to observe it. Thoughts arise, emotions arise, desires arise, and then they pass. The problem is not their appearance. The problem is identification. The moment the mind says, this is me, suffering begins. Buddhism introduces a radical shift. You are not the thought. You are the awareness of the thought. When this is seen, not intellectually but directly, something loosens. Craving weakens. Fear softens. Not because life improves, but because the grip of the mind relaxes. This is not detachment from life. It is detachment from illusion. Pain may still occur. Loss may still occur. But suffering, as constant resistance, begins to dissolve. The mind becomes quieter, not silent, but less demanding. And in that quiet, a different quality of being emerges. Act 3. The implication, freedom without escape. Buddhism does not promise transcendence of the world. It promises freedom within it. Freedom not from experience, but from being consumed by it. This is why Buddhism does not end with philosophy. It ends with practice, meditation, mindfulness, ethical attention, not to become perfect, but to see clearly, to live without being dragged by every thought, to feel without being possessed by emotion. In this way, Buddhism stands apart. Stoicism disciplined the self. Existentialism created meaning. Rationalism trusted reason. Buddhism questions the entire structure that made those necessary. And yet, it does not reject them. It simply steps underneath, before meaning, before reason, before identity. There is awareness. And when awareness no longer clings, suffering no longer dominates. This realization quietly prepares the ground for the next path. Because once suffering loosens, a new question appears. If the mind is not the final authority, what is? That question leads us forward, into the next school of thought. Existentialism. Buddhism offers an escape from suffering. a way out of desire, a quieting of the self. But not every human response seeks release. Some refuse it. Some look at suffering, emptiness and impermanence, and do not step away. They step closer. This is where existentialism begins. Act 1. The collapse of given meaning. Existentialism begins where comfort ends. It starts with a realization that unsettles the mind. There is no built-in meaning to life, no cosmic script, no hidden order waiting to be discovered. The universe does not explain itself. For centuries, humans leaned on structures: God, tradition, destiny, reason. Existentialism arrives when those structures fail, when belief no longer convinces, when logic no longer reassures, when silence answers our deepest questions. And unlike Buddhism, existentialism does not say, "Let go of the self." It says, "You are trapped with it. You are here. You are conscious. And nothing guarantees that any of this matters." This realization does not bring peace. It brings anxiety. Act 2. Anxiety, freedom, and responsibility. Existential thinkers did not see anxiety as a flaw. They saw it as clarity. Anxiety is what happens when you realize no one is coming to save you. No system will decide for you. No philosophy will carry your weight. You are free. And freedom is terrifying. Because if meaning is not given, then every choice matters. Every action defines you. Every excuse collapses. You cannot hide behind fate. You cannot blame the universe. You cannot dissolve into awareness. You must choose. Even refusing to choose is a choice. This is the burden existentialism places on the human being. You are responsible for what you become. Not because the world is fair, but because it is indifferent. And yet, existentialism does not call this a curse alone. It calls it dignity. Act 3. Creating meaning in an indifferent world. Where Buddhism seeks liberation from the self, existentialism demands commitment to it. Meaning is not found. It is forged. Through action, through responsibility, through choosing values in a world that offers none. Love matters because you choose it. Integrity matters because you live it. Purpose exists because you act as if it does. Existentialism does not promise happiness. It promises honesty. It does not remove suffering. It asks what you will do with it. In this view, life becomes a quiet defiance. To live fully, to choose meaning, despite knowing the universe is silent. Not because it guarantees peace, but because it is yours. Buddhism says suffering can end. Existentialism says suffering must be faced. One dissolves the self, the other sharpens it. But there is still another path humans return to, when even responsibility becomes too heavy and meaning itself feels insufficient. A path that does not argue with the mind and does not burden it with choice. It moves beyond both escape and confrontation. That is where we go next. Taoism. Existentialism leaves us standing alone, free, responsible, burdened by choice. It tells us nothing is given, so you must decide everything. And for some, this feels honest. For others, exhausting. Because even freedom can become heavy. Even meaning can feel forced. And so, throughout history, many humans drift toward a final path, not to escape suffering, not to confront it, but to stop struggling with life altogether. This is where Taoism begins. Act 1. The illusion of control. Taoism starts with a quiet observation. Life does not need your management. The universe is already moving. Seasons change. Rivers flow. Things rise, decay, and return. And yet the human mind insists on interference. We plan. We force. We resist what is. Taoism does not argue against meaning or responsibility. It simply asks, what if the problem is not suffering, but our refusal to move with life? Where existentialism says, choose your meaning, Taoism replies, why are you gripping so tightly at all? The Tao, often translated as the way, is not a goal, not a doctrine, not a belief. It is the natural unfolding of reality. And humans suffer, Taoism suggests, when they try to stand outside of it. Act 2. Wu Wei. Action without force. One of Taoism's most misunderstood ideas is Wu Wei, often translated as non-action, but more accurately meaning action without force. Not passivity, not withdrawal, but alignment. A tree does not try to grow, it grows. Water does not fight obstacles, it moves around them. The Tao does not hurry, yet everything happens. Taoism asks the human being to do the same, not by thinking less, but by interfering less. Unlike Buddhism, Taoism does not seek to dissolve desire. Unlike Stoicism, it does not discipline it. Unlike Existentialism, it does not burden you with choice. It says, act when action arises. Rest when rest arrives. Respond, don't resist. This is not weakness, it is efficiency. Act 3. Harmony. Instead of resolution, Taoism offers no final answers. And that is its strength. It does not promise enlightenment. It does not demand virtue. It does not insist on meaning. It invites harmony. A life where you stop fighting the mind, stop escaping suffering, stop forcing purpose, and instead you listen to timing, to rhythm, to what is already happening. In this way, Taoism does not replace the other paths, it absorbs them. Ego dissolves when control softens. Discipline becomes unnecessary when resistance fades. Responsibility lightens when you stop believing you stand apart from life. You are not above the river. You are not against it. You are in it. Across history, humans keep returning to the same responses. Ego says, assert yourself. Stoicism says, control yourself. Buddhism says, release yourself. Existentialism says, define yourself. Taoism says, relax yourself. None are wrong. They emerge at different moments of awareness, different stages of exhaustion, different relationships with suffering. And perhaps wisdom is not choosing one path forever, but recognizing when each one is speaking to you. At some point, philosophy stops being something you study and becomes something you notice in your reactions, in your resistance, in your need to control, escape, or define. This channel isn't about answers. It's about watching the patterns underneath them. If this reflection stayed with you, take a moment to sit with it quietly. And when you're ready, there is more to explore.